Ay, yung video. API security, sir.
Live na po, press.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon po.
Good afternoon.
Yan, live na tayo.
Good afternoon.
Ay,
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sir Mark.
Sir Mark,
Good afternoon po.
Good afternoon, mga ka-PICSPro.
good afternoon din po.
Kamusta ang afternoon natin?
Batiin ko lang yung mga students ko, no, from Colegio San Agustin. Good afternoon. All right. We will start. On the dot is 4:59. Miss Chair, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, Miss Chair. Good afternoon, Miss Chair.
Si Miss Chair is our part-time faculty. She's also a cybersecurity engineer. Right. Sige. Okay, it's already 5 o'clock. Welcome to KC, Kwentuhang Cybersecurity, hosted by Bacolod Chapter. Okay. Kamusta, Sir Jason? Sir Aaron, Sir JR, Sir Mark, and Miss Cheer. Kamusta?
Okay lang po, Sir Aaron.
Buti naman, sir.
Mabuti naman po.
Goods naman, sir.
Right.
Very good, sir.
Okay, so hinihintay natin ito, no? It is our KC. Okay, so let's start. Let me first introduce our resource speaker. He is experienced in solutions architecture, cybersecurity, a computer engineer, and also a CISO certified with various training certifications such as ISO 27001, PRINCE2, Six Sigma, leadership training, COVID-5, and many more. Okay. Without further ado, let's welcome Sir Gercon del Rosario. All right, sir?
Okay. Thank you po for the introduction. I just want to recognize also yung mga teammates ko na nandito, especially our market lead, JR, and our advanced automation team lead, Mark D. Guzman. JR, you wanna say something?
Okay, sure. So before the main presentation, I just wanted to share a little bit of background about our company, where we come from. So lahat kami, we are part of GHD. We are an engineering firm, with strong digital capabilities. So ano-ano ba yung areas that we are kumbaga focusing on in terms of digital? Nasa cybersecurity kami, nasa AI kami, nasa asset management kami, nasa advanced automation kami, among others. So the company was founded in 1928 sa Australia, and all over the world, nasa 10,000 employees na kami. So we are present in 9 countries and 86 yung offices namin all over the world. Aside from that, we were established here in the Philippines ng 1928, and we have 3 offices. We have offices in Makati, Quezon City, and Cebu. So one of the areas that we are raising awareness on is cybersecurity. Kaya nandito si Aaron ngayon to talk about cybersecurity. So at this point, I'll turn you over to Aaron for the main presentation. Over to you, Aaron.
All right, thank you, JR. No? So let me share my screen. Please let me know po kung nakikita na. And I also encourage yung mga ano natin, no, mga audience to participate. For it to be more interactive, we would like to make this as interactive as possible. So we have prepared some short surveys along the presentation, integrated dyan sa kwentuhan natin for the audience also to have some sort of participation. Ayan. Okay. So without further ado, again, the topic is about critical infrastructure, cybersecurity awareness. And you may have heard a portion of it, some of you, some not, but for the general audience, no, like I said, I encourage you to pick up your phones and participate because the next slide is already a question. So simulan natin yan sa question. No? So I think it's already live. Just pick up your phone, scan the QR code, and submit your answers po ng mga ka-PICSPro. So siguro we give it at around mga 2 minutes or 1 minute to get some responses from the audience. Keep those answers coming. So again, yun pong tanong is, which of the following do you think fall under the category of critical infrastructure? Ayan, meron na tayo nakitang nag-submit ng response. Keep them coming. Yung mga taga Bacolod. Any more? All right, almost time's up. Again, which of the following do you think fall under the critical infrastructure? So we have telco, water, energy and resources, and transportation. Okay, interesting. So 57% of the respondents that we have said it's all of the above. And yeah, there's no right and wrong answer po, no? And don't worry, we are not collecting your personal data on this survey. Yan. So let's move on. Thank you sa mga nag-participate, no? Mga nag-respond. So basically, critical infrastructure is any system or it applies to any system's assets, whether physical yan or virtual, no? Which is, kung sasabihin natin in Tagalog, is napaka-importante to our country na whenever it goes down or the incapacity or destruction would have a debilitating impact on national security, national economic security, public health, worst case scenario, no, human lives or safety, or it could be a combination of the matter. So makikita nyo yung backdrop natin, yan, it's a, ma-age reveal yata ako nito. Baka hindi na to inabot ng mga ano natin, Sir Alan, tsaka Sir Jason, no, ng mga audience natin na bata. So 2000 yan, no? Well, Sir Alan, napanood nyo?
Oo. Na-remember ko yan eh.
So anyway, I use this, no, as an analogy kasi out of all the movies that I have watched, very close to heart yung impact ng movie na to, no? Yung sinimulate dun sa movie how the transportation was affected from traffic signals being hacked, the cyber attacks that disrupts the telephone and television communications, and of course yung financial sector hindi din pinaligtas dun sa movie. Yung stock market was actually manipulated and then financial records were erased, leading to a chaotic and economic turmoil. Although it was only cited in the United States, but actually the impact even extended to critical utilities like electricity and gas. It was also targeted by the attacker. So yun yung nire-represent doon sa movie, which I find it very close to what is real happening, no? Ngayon sa audience natin, nasabi na movie lang yan, no? Baka nasasabi nila, movie lang yan. So, let's make it real, yeah? In the actual events, using actual events that already happened based on history, no? Say, for example, critical infrastructure, water. O kanina, dun sa survey natin, meron tayong option doon, no? Ano ba yung critical infrastructure? Water sector is actually part of the critical infrastructure. And if we are going to make it real, yung movie ni Bruce Willis, no, na Die Hard, as a matter of fact, last December 2023, there was an attack on an Irish utility water supply. And the water supply was actually cut off for 2 days. No? So, tinarget siya ng mga attacker and only because, they want to cause disruption and it happened. So, and then another example is yung energy and resources, which is part din ng critical infrastructure. No? In 2021, a ransomware via a phishing was actually infected the Colonial Pipeline. Which is kung ano ba yung Colonial Pipeline. For the knowledge of the general audience, if this is the first time that we heard this is about, oil or petroleum, which is kayang isupply ng Colonial Pipeline ang 2.5 million barrels per day, which is an equivalent of the total consumption of Germany. And Germany is Europe's largest economy at that time and the world's fourth biggest. No? So imagine yung impact ng ransomware sa Colonial Pipeline. And then we also have property and buildings. Property and buildings, meron yung mga cyber attacks, although hindi pa kasi mainstream, no? Because the ones that are really impacted by cyber attacks are the smart buildings. Although in November 2023, there was actually a report that attackers was actually able to steal 27 terabytes of data from the leader in smart buildings. Hindi ko na lang babanggitin kung sino yun, but based on the report that we got, smart building operational technology siya, and there was actually a breach. And it's just the start, no? And as we integrate all of these in our daily lives, or as the technology actually progresses in making buildings and properties intelligent or smarter, then the more risky or the more threats that it may face. Then moving on, we have also the environment. So sa environment, medyo naka-tie up lang yan sa water industry, no? Because it deals with wastewater. And particularly, yung nangyaring cyber attack or February 5, 2021 is in the United States. It's a Florida water treatment plant where there was an increased amount of sodium hydroxide. Ano ba yung sodium hydroxide? Why would we care about it? No? Basically, an excessive amount of sodium hydroxide can cause severe burns to digestive system pag nainom, or worst case scenario, it can lead to death. So, and that was actually because of an attack, no, that was carried out. And last but not the least, ito, very malapit sa puso ng Pinoy, and I think everybody naman all over the world, is the transportation. No? We have not seen the actuality and probably ilan pa lang yung nakaka-experience all over the world nung tinatawag natin mga smart vehicles or autonomous vehicles. No? But it's not, the intention of that is to make the travel more safer in general essence. However, in May 15, 2023 report that we have found, one of the transportation systems was actually able to expose employee information. And it also happened in the United States. Ngayon, ang implication nun is, although it didn't impact the safety of the transportation system itself, but the leakage that happened can be actually used by the perpetrators or the attackers to carry out future attacks because they already have initial information. And similarly, this is what we have been seeing nowadays. No, we thought na nagkakaroon ng data breach, our personal information are being leaked elsewhere, hosted or sold in the dark web, and hindi natin na masyadong nararamdaman yung impact niya on our daily lives. But what we are seeing as an aftermath are the rise of scams and fraudulent activities, and mainly because the perpetrators has more data right now, no? Especially right now in the Philippines, based on the survey that we have seen from the government last year, ang smartphone penetration na ng users natin is about over 70% of our population. So that's like 1 or 7 out of 10 in every Filipino has smartphones already. And the more smartphone users there are, then most likely these scams are gonna propagate on that mainstream devices, which are the smartphones. Okay, moving on. Ngayon, baka tanungin nyo, in-introduce si JR, ano ba yung GHD, where we came from, but what does it mean? So it's just a combination of the last names of the founders, si Gordon Gutteridge, Gerald Haskins, and Geoffrey Davey. And so quick trivia po. And then again, we have a short survey again, for our audiences, and I hope everyone is most of us are gonna participate. Again, hold up your smartphones, scan the QR code, and see, baka kasi tinatanong nyo, okay, you've discussed the attacks in the critical infrastructure, but our interest is in IT, Ayan. Sabihin ng mga ka-PICSPro natin, ang interest namin IT, hindi naman critical infrastructure. So, ngayon is, in your opinion, are the attacks in the IT and OT the same or somewhat similar, keep those answers coming and see what are the general opinion of the general public. And this is basically going to help us in leveraging our future studies in developing a more I would say targeted content for cybersecurity awareness. Yeah. So let's give it for a few more seconds. Kung meron pa pong magsasabi ng sagot sa mga ka-PICSPro natin, please submit your answers now. Yeah, thank you dun sa mga nag-participate. More responses will come in. Right? So yeah, nakikita nyo po, nagbabago yung natin, result depending on which answer was picked. Yeah. Okay. Yan, keep them coming, mga ka-PICSPro. It's only a matter of scanning the QR code and then submitting your answer. No personal data naman po are being collected. So I'll give it a few more seconds, mga last 20 seconds to accommodate some of the responses. So this is second out or 2 out of 3 of our survey. So meron pa po tayong last survey later. Abangan po natin yan. Let's give our opinion. Okay, thank you. So 80% said that the attacks in IT and OT are the same or somewhat similar, while 20% of our respondents said no. Yan. Interesting, Wala naman pong tama or maling sagot dyan. It's just that we are making this awareness, as a reality based on our opinion and our own knowledge. But let's see what the data tells us. Ano po ba talaga ang nature ng attack sa critical infrastructure? So we got this report from ITA, which is the European Union Agency for Network and Information Security. And kung makikita po natin, dinistribute nila yan by threat group. So threat groups are the type of threats. They have categorized it into web, information manipulation, malware, social engineering, data ransomware, and distributed denial of service. So kung makikita natin, wala naman pong sinasabi yan na critical infrastructure. It's all categorized as threat groups. Now, the reason why we're showing this is because ENISA actually made a holistic search, And this explains that the distribution of the group is actually across all sectors. And hindi ko na lang ipinakita yung ibang sectors dyan because magiging crowded yung screen natin. But it's very worth noting na yung transport and energy sector is actually part of the pie chart, no? So kung makikita natin, that comprises of about 10%. And that means that 10% is huge. Kung titingnan natin yan on a global scale. So imagine that those threat actors are also targeting the transport and energy, and the attacks that they have carried out is amounting to 10% combined of the critical infrastructure. And imagine what's gonna happen, no? Kung magkaroon ng denial of service into a control system ng power grid, no? What would happen? Of course, we will suffer energy loss, or worst case scenario, ma-overload yung isang power grid because the attacker was able to swing it to a different substation. Far from truth right now, but it's a possibility in the future. And we could also see ano yung nagiging trend, no? Dati puro IT lang yung usapan pag sinabi natin na threat landscape, no? Now, critical infrastructure is part, and mainly because kakaroon tayo ngayon ng tinatawag na convergence. So, and ipapaliwanag natin mamaya yan why convergence is happening, and at some point, integration is also happening between OT and IT. So, again, ang maliwanag na tanong ngayon dyan is, why are we doing this? And I mean, what's the role of the software and developers in protecting critical infrastructure? No? Yun yung tanong. Bakit natin ngayon kailangang i-highlight yung role ng software and developer in protecting critical infrastructure? Well, mainly because, number one, there are tools that we can use, no? For example, real-time monitoring and control. And kung mapapansin nyo, real-time monitoring and control is a software. So as a developer, you can actually be part of a company that does real-time and monitoring and control software development. Or maybe access control and authentication. It could also be SCADA system security, which is yung automation engineer namin, no? And that's part of his day in, day out. So he's involved in SCADA, system security, PLC, and he can tell more about that later, no, sa question and answer. And of course, the user training and awareness programs. In my previous role, I have met software vendors who are actually leveraging machine learning in creating user training and awareness programs. No? And it's also a software, obviously. And there's also asset management and inventory, and very important, I believe, especially in the critical infrastructure. Same goes with IT, no? Because meron tayong principle na you cannot really protect what you cannot see. So asset management and inventory gives you some sort of visibility into your assets. And in that way, since you have visibility, then you are gaining that insights and you can see what you need to protect. Right? And last but not the least is anomaly detection and machine learning, like what I've said earlier. No? The anomaly detection and machine learning, this could transform into a behavioral analysis application software. Sometimes it's being embedded into our endpoint protection solution suite, such as the EDR, no, na meron ng behavior analysis. And there are many more softwares actually out there where the developers can be part of in protecting our critical infrastructure. Now, hindi ko na po inilista lahat ng mga software that we can use in protecting our critical infrastructure because there are lots of them, and we don't have enough time to discuss all of them. But the reason why I picked all of these is because these are the common softwares that we can use in protecting our critical infrastructure as well. Ngayon, ano ba yung bago sa arsenal ng isang developer, no? Of course, before I answer that question, we will transition it using another survey, no? And this is, again, like I said earlier, we have 3 surveys. We've already done the 2 out of 3. So mga ka-PICSPro, bring out again your mobile phone and join the survey that we have. That's flashed on your screen. Just scan the QR code and submit your answer. Probably we'll give it a minute, probably, or a minute and a half to get the inputs of those participants. Mga ka-PICSPro, join po tayo sa survey. Tingnan po natin, no? Again, yung question is, when you think of a hacker, which of the following fits most in your opinion? Yan. So, hindi na natin kailangan explain why. Kailangan nating piliin ano ba ang tingin nating image ng isang hacker. Which of the following fits most in your opinion? Okay, keep those questions or answers coming. Lumalamang si person wearing a hoodie pero humahabol si woman with eyeglasses. Ayan. Thank you sa mga nagsasubmit. Ano kaya to, Sir Alan? I-extend ko pa. Mukhang interested sumagot yung mga audiences natin ngayon dito sa third question natin eh. Yan. Alright. Anyway, we will leave that open, no? So I suggest you take a snapshot of this page if you want to give your answers and feedback. It's still open until 7 p.m. for us to collect your opinion about the matter. Ngayon, tatanungin nyo, ano bang connection yan sa critical infrastructure? Why are we answering this kind of question? Well, we are talking about earlier about software that can be used to protect our critical infrastructure, right? Ngayon naman is, ano naman ang role ng developer in protecting critical infrastructure? Because there is a pressing question, no, when it comes to using AI. I've seen discussions around it. I don't know sa PICSPro kung meron ba mga previous editions or previous conversations around it, but AI is a very hot topic right now that we cannot avoid it because of the implication of it also in the critical infrastructure. And as a developer, it's only a matter of time that you embrace AI, because AI can enhance the way we protect our critical infrastructure. And as a developer, you have a very big responsibility, when it comes to utilizing AI and, training AI per se, in order for it to be a very useful tool. Ngayon, ano bang essence ng survey natin kanina, no? So, meron 3 doon. Ano ba yung preferred ng audience natin ng pag sinabing hacker, ano ba yung napipicture nila? So, walang tama o maling sagot doon. So, all of them are right. It just shows that as human beings, we have our own biases. So, some of your biases are on the long hair guy, yung iba dun sa babae na merong eyeglasses, and most of the respondents I saw, at least before I transition to these slides, is a person wearing a hoodie. No? And those are biases. I mean, it's not wrong, but when we train AI, ang point doon is AI will have its own biases depending on who's training it. Right? So, ngayon, ano bang connect niyan dito sa mga software natin? So, as a developer, if you make a real-time monitoring and control a more intelligent, that it can actually predict, maybe, or it can learn from traffic patterns to detect anomalies, you are training that AI to detect patterns based on a specific domain lang. So that training could impact how effective how effective the tool is or how biased the tool is. And of course, ganun din yung access control and authentication, the intelligent access control and authentication. I remember there was a study before, the challenge of the facial recognition when it was trained is, it was highly trained actually against Caucasian. And then when a person of color is being introduced into the system, the system actually cannot identify the person. So, yun, makikita mo ngayon nagkakaroon yung authentication mechanism, especially the facial recognition of a people of color biases that it cannot recognize. So that has been addressed by some of the technologies, but I'm saying it's because it's one of the challenges that we are facing when we actually train artificial intelligence. And then, of course, we can make the predictive analysis for SCADA systems more secure, no, as opposed to the traditional that it's just giving us a visualization of what's happening in our operational technology, but it would actually give us more insights because, or we can even predict when a system would most likely fail. And one of the AI development that I've seen in the commercial market is what we call the pre-crime. No, they can already predict where the next crime would happen or the next breach would happen. No, there was naalala ko tuloy yung movie na Minority Report. Yung sasabihin na naman ng mga audience ng mga bata dyan, ano ba naman yung Minority Report niyan? Baka sobrang luma na. But yeah, again, it's pre-crime. So with the use of data and machine learning and artificial intelligence, there are technologies that could actually rise as powerful as that kind of tool. And of course, there are training benefits and awareness program with the use of AI. No, sabi ng isang cybersecurity expert, which also naging speaker sa PICSPro, is that there would be advanced social engineering, which I also believe because of the AI. But conversely speaking, if there would be advanced social engineering, then we can also counter that with an enhanced personalized user training and awareness program using AI in order for us to carry out training programs down to the individual level, customize the learning style, and specific sa role niya na pwede siyang maging target. And in that way, the man and machine can work together to combat those advanced threats. And last but not the least, yung smart asset management and inventory natin, we can already detect or predict the potential risk of a certain appliance. Let's say, for example, yung elevator safety, it can be improved. You can assign an automatic or an artificial intelligence, train it how it's really gonna distribute the population going into a very busy building, no? Into which elevator they should be based on given time, based on what floor they actually go to during lunch, during off-peak hours or peak hours. So mga simple explanation yan, but in eventuality, the smart asset management encompasses the smart buildings, which the goal is to really help reduce the emissions, no, and energy efficiency yung ipinopromote. So imagine kaya mong kontrolin yung buong power ng building depende sa peak and off-peak demands. No? And then the self-improving anomaly detection system, which can learn on its own based on the advanced machine learning AI models. You can actually train your anomaly detection systems moving forward using AI that could lead to a development of a system that will be more accurate over time in detecting sophisticated cyber threats. Now, I'm raising this concern because the more attacks we have, then the more advanced tools we need. I remember when I visited a security operating center some years ago. No? I've seen 3 analysts when during the visit that I did, and I saw in their screen that there are about 5,000 alerts that they have yet to investigate kung alin din yung critical. Imagine that, that's 5,000 alerts and only 3 of them. And that is 5,000 alerts per day after the initial filter of the system. Imagine that kind of work, no? That you're trying to analyze if this alert is actually a threat or not, and you are bombarded with that high number of alerts. And if we are not gonna address that, then we are always behind the bad guys. No? Kaya yung tagline natin dito sa PICSPro, it's happy lang, walang weekend, no? It's partly true, but that's cybersecurity. It's 24/7, doesn't stop. So let's move on to the next slide. So the question there is, ano pa ba yung ibang responsibility ng software developer and what are the advanced attacks that we have seen in the wild so that we can be aware, no? Number 1 dyan is yung tinatawag natin na third-party library breaches or threats. So for example, ito yung NPM, no? Ano ba yung NPM? NPM is an acronym for Node Package Manager. Why would you use it? It's because as a developer, especially sa mga estudyante natin ngayon, when you go to the real world na, no, that you are already developing the software, the business has always what we call the time to market. Meaning you have to release the software or the app on a specified time frame. And that means that you are running out of time or very compressed yung time. So nangyayari yan, it's because of the first mover advantage na tinatawag natin, no, when it comes to gaining advantage over our target market. So that's how it works. And the more you need help from other people in order for you to launch the app that you need to develop. And that goes hand in hand with the community of developers na kailangan ng tulong. You need vast repositories such as NPM. It has vast repository. That's why a lot of developers are actually using it. And it can provide you an access to a large repository of packages, which ang effect niyan is it significantly speed up yung development ng mga developers. No? So ano pa yung isang example? The rise of protestware according to the report. No? And I couldn't highlight this more because when we talked about this about a year or two ago in my previous job, protestware are something new. But we have seen this happening especially dun sa nangyaring conflict between Russia and Ukraine. No? So one of the avid contributors sa NPM was actually against Russia. And it just so happened that he can edit his own package. And whoever downloads the package, ang ginawa niya lang is nagkaroon siya ng changes dun sa code that if I detect that you are using my package in Belarus or Russia, I'm going to corrupt the file in your PC kung inopen mo yan. And that is what we call a good guy gone bad in some words, or it's just that a matter of his way of protesting against the what's happening against Russia and Ukraine. And hindi lang yung isang nangyari, so there are more. So these are the kinds of the new threats that the developers will face. So how do we combat it? Ano ba yung kaya nating gawin? Parang ang nangyayari ngayon, the developer needs to develop, but the community is also a threat. No? Of course, it's not a dead end. And based on my conversation and experience with customers, number one is you have to be vigilant. No? Vigilance actually pays off. So you engage the community, but you also build that circle of trust with your with the person in the community. And yung sinasabi nga sa iba is zero trust, then you also apply the principle of zero trust here na even if you have seen yung review sa isang package, no, don't easily trust it because as a matter of fact, meron na tayong tinatawag na starjacking. Yan, starjacking. Meaning, yung isang bagong package na ni-release sa, let's say, sa GitHub, no, it could earn as many as 70,000 downloads in just overnight. And if you're just gonna base your assumption based on that number of downloads and probably the number of stars, then you are putting yourself in a dire situation that most likely that is you are gonna use that without knowing that it is infected. So that is the starjacking. It's basically to make an open source package instantly look popular by abusing the lack of validation. And then what else can we do besides that? Audit dependencies. No? We can audit our dependencies using third-party code by using software composition analysis, or we have what we call the third-party analysis tool. Yan. So may mga open source naman yan for those who cannot pay the enterprise, especially si OWASP, meron siyang tinatawag na dependency check. It can check actually if the tool or the package that you are using, it can be detected kung meron siyang publicly disclosed vulnerabilities or contained within the project's dependency. There are some paid versions of that. And then we can also use an instrumentation framework for building dynamic analysis tools, no? Yan, yung dynamic analysis, si Valgrind lang yung naaalala ko, no? Na isang tool for dynamic analysis in order for us to detect, let's say, memory management and threading bugs, and profile your program in detail. Si Valgrind. And of course, last but not the least is to preserve the integrity. So, once you have already engaged the community, nakita mo na yung package, and then you have done the scanning or the software composition analysis, na audit mo na that it is safe to use, you can probably treat your own. And if you can, no, you sign that code and verify to ensure that it's not going to be tampered moving forward, no. You can make your own version. Of course, nakadepende pa rin yan sa terms of use. But if it allows you to save your own version without selling it, no, you have to sign the code. And the first step in signing the code is, of course, you would have to get a code signing certificate from a trusted certificate authority. And so we can set another topic on that kung hinihingi ng pagkakataon. But these are the 3 takeaways that I can give you on what the developers can do about in securing the software that they are being developed. And ano ba yung ginagawa ni GHD as a company? Again, let's make it real. Kasi baka nasa concept lang tayo, no? Sabihin nyo, nasa concept lang naman yan. Yeah, we get the top 3 concepts on how we're gonna do it. But as a matter of fact, si GHD, it's not, even though we are just focused on the SCADA and PLC, we are not really far from the software development lifecycle. It's just that the way Mark De Guzman's team, yung advanced automation engineer namin, is doing it, is that they just simplified it into 4 simple steps, no? You have the build, the develop, you have the specify, and then review. So what we do in the build is, of course, this is where you use the ladder logic, the structured text as a programming language. And then you have also control systems under develop, which dito mo na ginagawa ngayon yung pag-identify ng mga new devices, and parang ini-imagine mo na how can we actually best connect them and how we can protect them as well. And then under the specify or defining the hardware, ito na yung selection mismo ng hardware. No, it's the engineering side now on how to make things work. And last but not the least is the review. No, ang tawag nila Mark dyan is the cold eyes review and software testing, which is very important. Yung cold eyes review is something that we should not underestimate, because again, it's very to spot your own error if you're the one who built your code. So it's better that you have another set of eyes coming from outside to do that review for you, which is actually the reason. This is also one of the reasons why some companies, even if they already have that cybersecurity risk assessor inside, they still get a third party as an opinion, because that gives them the cold eyes review. So it's a fresh look from the outside coming from a different perspective, so that they can also give a different perspective on the risks. And last but not the least, ang isang practice na ginagamit nila Mark dyan is, of course, the PLC Security Top 20, which is a publicly available resource, no? Meron niyang available document naman. We can actually send it to you, or you can just Google it, the PLC Security Top 20 list, which is by heart ginagawa nila Mark yan when they are actually doing PLC configuration. Okay. Let's move on. Maybe some of you will ask why we should do it, no? Why we should do that PLC and SCADA automation. Kanina Sir Aaron nabanggit niyo, daming attacks na nangyayari, but why we still do it, no? Do we have a choice? Well, meron kasi mga drivers, and number 1 is because of the COVID-19. I know ngayon medyo almost normal na tayo, no? Although may mga spikes pa rin ng COVID-19, but kung iisipin natin, na-realize kasi ng mga companies, especially those in the critical infrastructure, that it's very hard to rely on human-centric workforce alone, because humans have very different needs at time of pandemic, right? So health and safety is one, of course, but of course you cannot stop the production of goods such as food, no? And all of those are becoming evident as the global population increase. We are projected to reach what, 8 billion, 9 billion by 2030 or 2050. I just forgot the statistics, but papalubo yung population, and the more that we need to actually have that production ramped up, no, of our critical infrastructure, including food. And of course, also yung isang driver niyan is that meron na tayong tinatawag that data is the new oil. Before, the oil is the black gold. Ngayon, data is the new oil. And ang case in point yan is the reason why we have smartwatches today and smart appliances today is because data has been harnessed by the manufacturing industry in order for them to create and innovate new products. No? And last but not the least is yung connected devices in the field. So me personally, I have experience using connected devices, and the more the devices are connected, the ecosystem gets better and the more productive you become. But in the critical infrastructure space, it's very obvious that connected devices in the field, if you link them to the enterprise or business network, it actually brings efficiency and equates to dollar savings. That's why nagkakaroon ng conversations ngayon about IT and OT convergence and integration. No? And that's because of the efficiency that it brings, and efficiency brings and equates to dollar savings. No? And we have seen that happening in the manufacturing industry. No? Initially, pag bago yung product, sobrang mahal niya, but there will come a time that the product will get cheaper. I remember at the height of the Nokia phone, the cheapest phone that you can buy, that was what, 2000. I remember year 2000, no, when I had my first mobile phone, and that was already 4,000 pesos for a Nokia 3210 that can only send 160 characters per text. Imagine that. 4,000 pesos at that time is already a big deal. But nowadays, you can buy a smartphone for as low as what? Same amount, 4,000 pesos. So yun yung tinitingnan natin na efficiency, because if the manufacturing actually gets more efficient and it can produce more, then the cost of goods will also go down in effect. No? Ngayon, meron ba tayong choice to avoid it besides these benefits in spite of the threats that we have faced? We can argue that we can decide, but these are the main drivers on a global scale. We have geopolitics, yung issue sa Russia and Ukraine, nagkaroon ng disruption sa Yemen about the supply, and then China is has been banned by the United States, no? Especially, particularly Huawei in entering the US market. So these are the political powers in play. And of course, we have skill shortage. Skill shortage in a sense na talagang kulang na skills, especially in cybersecurity. No? And in the critical infrastructure, aging infrastructure is number one driver. Sa critical infrastructure kasi, ang dami yung mga lumang technologies, no, that are no longer being supported by the manufacturers themselves. So wala nang mga updates, no, na makukuha dyan. And it's because sobrang luma na. Ang katwiran is, why would you replace something that's already working? So you don't replace it. Let it operate. And of course, vulnerabilities will be there. Left unpatched, it's going to be vulnerable to cyber breaches. And we can argue na, sabihin nyo, air gap yan. Wala namang connection sa internet yan eh. How it's going to be impacted by a cyber breach? Well, case in point, Stuxnet, an Iranian nuclear facility program that was actually an air gap, but still a malware find its way, because again, the attackers are finding their way into the critical infrastructure space using tactics and techniques that are very similar to IT, no? So, ayan. So what can we do? Ano ba yung nating pwedeng gawin, no? Where can we start as students? So, where can we start? Meron diyang guidelines, for example, or frameworks, like the NIST cybersecurity framework. You can actually visit that. This is publicly accessible, no? Especially on their governance and risk management process that address cybersecurity risk to systems. And then you also have protection processes that can improve, and including the adoption of secure coding practices to prevent vulnerabilities. No? And then we have the ISO 27001. I've never seen a publicly accessible version of this. I think this is paid, but generally this is the standard or industry standard for information security. And their section 14 tells about the development and maintenance of particularly coding practices or software development lifecycle itself. And then of course yung na-discuss na, and one of the PICSPro topics was the OWASP, or the Open Web Application Security Project controls. And then we also have CIS controls, version 8, especially for IT. No? This actually gives us a section, I think it's control 18 if I'm not mistaken, that tells about application software security, which it directly addresses yung need for secure software development practices. And then last but not the least, which is very close to our heart because this is critical infrastructure, is the IEC 62443 standards. No? So even this standard itself has the section that tackles about product development lifecycle requirements, which includes the secure coding practice. And hindi dyan nagtatapos, mga kapwa ko or mga developer out there. No? It's regardless of what guidelines, controls, or standards or framework that you choose, always, at the end of the day, the important thing is the continuous improvement. So you can use a combination of this, but without continuous improvement, you can just be as vulnerable as you are in day one before you apply this. So it's always there. Cybersecurity threats are evolving, so continuous improvement is a must. And again, just to summarize, no, cybersecurity for critical infrastructure, that's GHD's capability, but it's only one. It's only one. Kung makikita nyo, hinighlight ko yan. It's just only one capability under our 4 practices. Critical infrastructure falls under digital experience, so as critical infrastructure for cybersecurity. Okay. And before I end my piece, this is what I leave to you. In every security task, small or vast, due care is key, a guiding principle for safety. So if you want to be secure, yan lang yung maging principle nyo, due care, and that will be your guiding principle. It's like your North Star or a guiding light in order to make and craft software more secure than ever. And thank you po. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you po, Sir Aaron. Marami tayong insight ngayon. May mga questions, Sir Aaron. Ako, personally, I will ask. No? Okay. Meron tayong national national security plan, no, ng government natin. Nandoon yung critical infrastructure. Anong masabi mo doon?
Actually, yeah, it's a good thing po na na-bring up niyo yan, no? Kasi isa po yan sa pinapag-usapan namin ngayon about the critical infrastructure space. Kasi the way our government actually define the critical infrastructure space is not only water, energy, and transport, including actually telco or ICT itself, no? Which is very, I would say, very IT centric, but we recognize that it is very fundamental na in today's world. And I think where we need to have some sort of discussion is to actually pull those industries together and we should actually have a discussion about it. Ang nakikita ko lang dyan, sir, is wala kasi tayong central body na nag-i-spearhead to discuss how critical infrastructure should be governed and how it should be protected. Unlike in other countries kasi that they have governing bodies, no, that could actually discuss with deeper level of expertise on what's really the demand or needs of the unique or what is the uniqueness of the target industry. No? We have experts here in, let's say, in banking sector, telco probably, but in other areas dealing with cybersecurity matters such as water, energy, transportation sector, aviation, all of us are just doing whatever we can do the way we understand how we operate things and how we govern it. So I think it's a matter of time na bumuo ng group to really discuss how it should be governed and protected properly. Yan po. So I hope that answered the question, Sir Alan.
Yes, thank you, Sir Aaron. Ms. Chair, meron tayong question. By the way, good afternoon, VP Ruby and EXO Miss Arlene.
Yeah, magandang hapon po sa inyo. Magandang hapon, PICSPro Bacolod, and maraming salamat po sa ating speaker. No, nandito kami ngayon sa Tagaytay, we're doing a strat plan, no? Pero syempre di namin pwedeng ma-miss yung Kwentuhang Cybersecurity. So, yun, tumamay kami saglit para batiin kayong lahat. And also to congratulate our PICSPro Bacolod. And of course, also to say thank you to our guest speaker. Very interesting topic. Salamat po.
Salamat po. It's an honor po to be invited sa PICSPro.
Thank you po, Miss Ruby and Miss Arlene. Miss Chair, meron tayong questions?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, we have a question from Arlene Raimondo. So, as someone who works on the technical side, how can we convince our creative people like artists, educators, and etc. that AI is an innovation that we need and not an adversary that will cost us our future jobs and will later on kills one's creativity?
Wow, medyo napahapyawan lang natin yung AI, parang gusto yata. Baka po dapat ito yung next topic natin.
Yes. Good.
But it's okay, no? I can give my own opinion about it. It's not actually about of convincing. I think the topic there should be around ethics, on how AI should be restricted in a way that it's also gonna protect the originality of, katulad na yung mga sinabi niya, artists and educators. And I'm also concerned about AI because education is, or educators is very close to my heart. My wife is an elementary teacher, no? And she's crafting these lesson plans, burning the midnight oil in order to deliver a great learning experience sa mga students niya. And just imagining that AI is gonna take over that, I cannot comprehend. But it's a topic that we have also discussed. I think what we need also is to make awareness on how the creative could be more even creative, no, as opposed to competing it against with AI. Because me personally, I am using AI in some of my research, no, to kickstart an idea, how much I lack in terms of understanding, which it speeds up the learning process. So it doesn't mean that AI is taking away my job, but it's actually enriching it in some form of another, na yung dati kasing mga topics na hindi ko gaanong naiintindihan, now I have this some sort of advisor or a mentor, for the lack of the better term, that can easily give me information where I can start navigating. Now, and I think when it comes to generative AIs, I think yun yung sinasabi ng mga creators and educators, no? The generative AI that can derive contents. Let's say, for example, si ChatGPT before, it cannot generate images. Now, it can even create videos, no? So, paano yung mga content creator natin? YouTube, YouTubers, influencers that are creating videos. You can look at it first against AI, or you can actually harness the power of AI in order for you to shorten some of your work or enrich it more to build more targeted content depending on the audience. So I think that is the conversation that we cannot arrive into an agreement, but of course it has to be a conversation. It has to be a conversation in part.
Nice. I agree, no? I agree. Ako, ChatGPT yung kasama ko palagi. Actually sa code, no? It helps, no? When writing codes, no? Then if you're lucky, pwede ka ring mag-ask ng malware. Baka bigyan niya ka.
Actually, yes. Kaya nga sir, yung ethics is we are highlighting.
Yes. It's very okay.
It's
Mr. meron pa ba?
Ayan.
Meron pa tayong question?
Indeed, I agree. Yes, we have a new question from Harold Agoma, who just commented us that what is the difference between active and passive cyber attacks?
Active and passive cyber attacks. I don't know, parang di natin siya na-touch ngayon, no? Maybe we can put on hold on that information because it can be subjective, no? I don't see that there are, most of the cyber attacks are aggressive. They are not passive, no? Baka ang sinasabi kasi ng iba when it comes to passive are these threats na nakapasok na yung attacker and then they're just benign, no? Parang may beacon that it can be triggered by a certain event. So that would be the answer that I'm gonna give right now, but yeah, we can probably, kasi hindi natin mabigyan ng context on what do they mean by that. I hope that helps.
All right. Sana marami pa tayong time, no? But it's already...
Yes, may humabol din kasi question.
Yes. Oh, sige, isa na lang before we go.
Isa na lang. From Jed Garcia, which is related to our topic. Do we have known open source? I think it was already discussed earlier, but Jed was not able to hear that. So he asked about, do we have known open source tools to build a lab for ICS, or I think he's referring to IT/OT environment.
Open source. Mark, may opinion ka doon? Open source daw eh.
Actually I did refer doon sa mga software na ginagamit pag-develop. Basically, we have, no, may mga open source software tayo na ginagamit when it comes to developing the program for PLC and SCADA. Pero yung mga known sources like Siemens or Emerson, basically exclusive yung software, you need to purchase it. Hindi siya open software.
Yeah, I think yun yung, siguro bigyan ko lang ng comment. Sabi ni Mark, is dependent on the PLC manufacturer itself.
Sir, tanong lang po kasi iba ding tools, no? Like we have IDS for monitoring, firewall. Ano ba yung sa industrial? The same lang po.
Right now, sir, ang ginagamit
mga PLC, no?
Right now kasi ang very popular na monitoring system for the OT is SCADA, the human machine interface. Now, ngayon, ang tinitingnan kasi natin in the future is that these monitoring systems will be integrated within IT in order for you to perform advanced analytics. No? Doon siguro sila magko-converge na darating yung time that the same tool in IT is the same tool that you can use actually for OT in doing advanced analytics or maybe identifying or combating or detecting threats. You can use probably the same SIEM from IT to OT in the future. When it comes to firewall naman, nagkakaiba lang yan, sir, doon sa hardening style, no? Although we know for a fact that firewall nowadays can be segmented into zones and then you can restrict traffic flow. Normally sa industrial firewall kasi, even though they are ruggedized by nature in order for it to combat harsh environments, no? Extreme humidity, temperature, or withstand vibration, it also allows only one traffic flow, no? As opposed to inbound, puro outbound lang siya if you want to integrate in order for it to prevent actually yung lateral movement just in case nanggaling yung attack sa IT papunta sa OT.
Alright, sige. Thank you po. Maraming salamat sa inyo, no? And also to Sir Jason and Bacolod Chapter, no? And also national, no? Hindi sila nandito kasi mayroon silang strategic plan, no? Sa Tagaytay. Sana nandoon tayo. Alright. Sir JR, before we go, Sir Mark.
Last words daw.
Last words.
Last words. Okay, siguro sa side ko, no? So for the students, no, na who's thinking of building a career in cybersecurity, just go for it. Kasi sa board ngayon or sa businesses ngayon, there are 3 items that's being talked about, no, parating pinag-uusapan: AI, sustainability, and cybersecurity. So just go for it. That's
Right.
it on my end.
And Sir Mark.
Hi, so basically, I hope we have another sessions for advanced automation, no? Kasi actually masyadong broad yung yung discussions for automation. So actually si automation and cybersecurity is always, as of now, no, nagsa-top in na sila. Kasi pinoprotect na natin yung mga data natin sa OT sites, and then we need to extract those, ilabas natin via internet. So since ina-expose na natin yung mga data natin over the internet, of course we need the cybersecurity guy, which is Sir Aaron. So for further verifications or understanding between the digitalization, I think we must have also the knowledge of the automation, like how we automate things, how do we monitor like remotely, something like that. Because ang goal kasi namin, no, pino-connect namin yung mga devices sa PLC namin and SCADA. So basically, pwede mo siyang i-monitor kahit saan yung locations mo. So sana may separate discussions tayo for advanced automation.
Yes po, yes po. We will. Hopefully sa next na Bacolod Chapter Kwentuhang Cybersecurity. Okay, thank you po, Mark, Sir Mark. Okay, Sir Aaron, thank you po.
Thank you.
Again, pleasure po to be invited in PICSPro, no? Hope this will actually uplift the cybersecurity knowledge of our general audience, especially in protecting our critical infrastructure.
All right, Sir Jason.
Thank you po. Okay po. Thank you po Sir Aaron saka Sir Mark, Sir JR, saka po sa mga PICSPro Manila po. Thank you po. So, Sir Alan, dito sa PICSPro, happy lang, walang
walang weekend. Thank you po. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye po. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.